start. Did you initially want to go into public relations when you started your career?
I was really fortunate to have some cool introductions when I was a young buck in this business. My high school coach was a guy named Mike Grant at Eden Prairie High School. His father's Bud Grant. And Bud introduced me to some people, and I got connected with the PR department. I was looking for a way to get my foot in the door anyhow. And it happened to be in PR, and really grateful for the opportunity. Bob Hagan and those guys took care of me and showed me the ropes.
And then went over to football analyst. How did that happen?
I was during the transition between Coach Green and Coach Tice being hired, and they were kind of evolving some positions, and so I was able to kind of carve out a role helping kind of do some breakdown stuff. Back then, you didn't have as big as staffs, and so I was doing some film breakdown and some tendencies and self-scout and stuff like that.
You always want to be a coach? Or
I did, yeah. As soon as I realized I couldn't play very well.
There you go. Cool. I was just curious.
Yeah, thanks.
With Stefan, his snap rate right now, a little over 50%, lower than we're used to seeing from him. Is that something that you could see increasing as the season goes along? Is that sort of working him back in after the ACL? Just where do you guys stand on that?
I think for all the receivers, not just him, there's going to be an ebb and flow each week. The game plan is going to dictate different personnel groupings. You want to create different matchups, or maybe sometimes when you put a different pairing on the field, you get something defensively that you're hunting. And so I think there's going to be some ebbs and flows there. I know a lot has been made about people's snap counts 2 weeks in, but I'm excited about the group and their versatility, and I think that throughout the year that's going to serve us well.
On Stefan, you have such an interesting perspective from having worked with him early in his career and now seeing him in year 11 of his career. I don't want to ask you what's different, but I guess what have you noticed this year working with him that maybe reflects an 11-year vet versus a younger guy? Yeah,
one of the cool things is watching his maturity as a leader and hearing him kind of be a champion of the cause for Coach Vrabel, for Coach McDaniels, and myself. Just if there's something that we emphasize, he's going to have our backs with the young guys, or, if he sees somebody on the field not doing it, he'll hold them accountable. And between he and Mac, that's a really fun part of the room. And then, he's always had a relentless work ethic. He's been working diligently mentally to be able to, handle everything that we throw at him. And, that's been awesome to see as well.
Josh was talking about Pop earlier and singled him out as one of the more unselfish players you have on the offense. Just how have you seen that manifest itself in your room?
Yeah, I think it relates back to an earlier question about rep counts and opportunities and targets and all those things. Pop was the highest targeted player in all of training camp, right? And the ball hasn't found him as many times early in the season, but he hasn't batted an eye. His work ethic has stayed the same. His attitude and his contagious energy has stayed the same. It's just awesome to be a coach of a room that has a bunch of guys that are willing to do whatever the team needs and do it with a great and positive energy. So Pop is certainly a great example of that.
How can some of the younger guys learn from Stefan's route running? It seems like he's kind of a technician when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit like a golf swing. There are certain things that receivers can take and say, okay, well, that fits what I do. And then there's certain things that they might say, well, I don't have that in my skill set, but I can use that release or I can use that route top. Steph is also somebody that wants to help the next generation. So he'll talk Kyle through things or Efton through things, what he saw or, how he felt the defender. So there's certainly things at the beginning of the route and at the top of the route that I think he's handing down.
What do you like the most about what you've seen from your group just through 2 weeks here?
I think the cohesion and the unselfishness of the group has been really fun to see. I think their work ethic is fun. They have a contagious energy. I challenge them all the time to be the engine of the offense, meaning that you might not know there's a problem until you go to hit the gas pedal and there ain't anything there. A lot of people don't recognize that the engine's running perfectly smooth, and that's sometimes a good thing. So I love that they're being selfless. I love that we're going out there and taking a mentality that we'll do anything that's necessary to win. And they're all eager and hungry to get better. That's a cool thing as a coach who wants to give them something new each day.
The touchdown catch that Booty made, what did he do well technically from that you would coach as a receiver? Because that's a very nuanced, I don't know if nuanced is the word, but that's a play that, he's pretty tightly covered there.
Yeah. Well, he just took my coaching and perfectly applied it. No, that was a great play by him. And one of the things that he did technically was he stacked the defender. And we talk all the time about being able to, once you clear the shoulder level of the defender, being able to stack him and keep him behind you. That enabled him to have that left arm free, and he could see the ball and track it all the way in. You know, if he wouldn't have stacked him, I think he would have got pushed a little bit wider and probably not been able to get to that ball.
No, we're not seeing Efton on game days, or we haven't yet, but what's he working on behind the scenes right now?
Yeah, so he's learning his pro routine, right? And he's tied at the hip with Max, so those two are, you know, together all the time. He's learning how to prepare his body. He's learning how to recover from heavy loads on practice days and things like that. He's also learning to be versatile throughout the whole offense, not just playing slot receiver like he spent most of his time in training camp. He's learning all the positions, because a lot of times that fourth or fifth or even sixth receiver on game day, you got to be able to plug and play him anywhere that somebody needs a shoelace. So he's really evolving that way too, and that's fun to see. And you know, love where he's at. Happens to be in a room with, I think, 5 other talented guys on the active, and you know, I know his time will come soon.
I know he had the touchdown last week, but I feel like Mac Hollins is a player whose value doesn't always show up statistically on the stat sheet. How would you explain what type of value, the level of value that he brings to your room?
Yeah, you know, earlier we were discussing different pairings and groupings and what that does defensively, and sometimes when Mac's on the field, they have to account for him in different ways with different bodies, you know, and he can be a factor in the run game. He can also be a factor in the play pass game. He's one of those guys that I can plug and play anywhere. So if I have somebody that needs one, you know, gives me the high sign on the way back from a go route, he can jump in there and take anybody's rep. He is an extremely versatile piece, and he sets the tone from an effort and finish standpoint for our room. He's so well conditioned and takes care of himself so well physically that he's out there giving his all every snap.
How much does it help to have like a taller target like Mac too? You know, because you guys aren't the tallest receiver room.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's certainly one of his great attributes is his size and his ability to play above the rim. You know, and I think that even just the length he has to be able to catch the ball outside the framework of his body when the defender's close, or his ability to go get that ball like the touchdown you were referring to, you know, he had to extend to go get that catch. And, you know, that's certainly a great trait that he has.
Specific to this matchup against the Steelers, what style are you coaching the receivers to be able to expect from their corners?
Yeah, having gone against Coach Tomlin a number of times and this style of defense a number of times, they're an aggressive and physical unit, you know, and they're going to be disciplined. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. So we have to match the physicality. We have to be ready to play with detail at the top of our routes, and we got to be able to play through contact.
Can't leave one on the table. We got a good one. We got one good last one to
Are
wrap
they
it.
playing more man than like an old Mike Tomlin defense? And what is that for a receiver? You know, what does more man mean? Like, does that change your mentality going into a week?
Yeah, certainly our route techniques change when we're matched in man coverage. By percentage, I would have to go back and look at old game plans or write-ups to tell you if it's any more than it used to be. But sometimes I think that can be a bit of a misnomer as well, because if they're in cover 3 zone and we run vertical stems on the outside, it's man coverage.
Yeah.
You know, so that sometimes can get a little bit skewed as a receiver. I think that can be more appropriate for the tight ends and the running backs sometimes. But, you know, we certainly have to be on top of our details and our route craft if we're being matched.
Thank you.
All right.
Enhance the strengths and continue to work on those areas of focus. So as time goes, you try to do it. Probably one of my biggest flaws as a coach is when I see a weakness, I am determined to fix it. And sometimes I have to realize, okay, someone may just not be good at that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that is probably the hardest part for me, is almost admitting to myself that someone, okay, Andrew may be better at this than Tony, and moving on from there. Just because in this league, you know, guys get dinged up, guys get hurt. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, they need to learn it all, because there's going to come a point in time that you're going to ask them to do something that maybe hadn't been a strength of theirs.
Yeah.
But if you can continue to develop and work on it throughout the course of the season, even though they may not be doing it on a Sunday at the time, there's going to come a time within a game or a time during the season that they may be asked to do it. So I always want to continue working to develop that when I can.
It's nice. No one's ever said Andrew's better at this than anyone, so I appreciate you using me as an example.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Hey, I'm Karen.
How you doing, Karen? Tony, nice to meet you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tony Taylor.
How you doing, Taylor?
Nice to
Tony,
meet you.
nice to meet you.
When a rookie, Trevion, has a game like he did in Miami, a couple of tough penalties on blocking assignments, how do you handle that with him?
Well, you review the film and see what was the cause or see what happened during the plays. We have the iPads, but the iPads give you an idea, but until you see the film running, and then you communicate with them. So it's fairly easy because just like the other day with Trevion, we've seen him execute the blocks over a long period of time, between the spring and then obviously when we had padded practicing camps against other teams and padded practice against other teams, and then within the game. So it comes back to fundamentals and techniques, and then you identify it on film, you come back and you go work on those things in practice, and you move on from them.
One more from me anyway. The backs collectively had a nice game against the Dolphins. Do you believe we've sort of only, even with that game, scratching the surface with what potentially those three can do?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I think it's about just taking advantage of the opportunities that you're given. And when you're given opportunities, it starts in practice, starts in the meeting room in practice, and then carrying it over from the meeting room to our practices and preparing the right way. And then when you get the opportunity in the game to execute the assignment, you go do it. And certainly as a coach, it feels good to see them go execute. And then however the result is, the result is. And then from there, it's about consistency and showing them the things that they did well, showing them the things that we can obviously improve on, and then going back out the very next opportunity that we have to get back on the practice field and continue to work and build a consistency. As we all know, consistency builds confidence, and yourself, your teammates, and the coaching staff as well.
So I was curious in pass protection, going back to Trevion. Obviously, he was at Ohio State, so he's going up against like Michigan, seeing NFL-style defenses. What's the biggest change going from that style in college to going to the pros and then trying to figure out all these exotic kind of pressure packages?
Well, again, it still comes back to the fundamental part because he is one that is really, he's from a mental standpoint, he understands the game, and he understands pressures and the exotic fronts, and he studies it, he works at it. So that part of it. It's the physical strength of, and he's strong. So I don't mean he's lacking strength, but until you get out there and you play against a guy that is, at 21, 22 years old, and you're playing against a 26, 27-year-old that's been through multiple off-season training and all that stuff. And I'm not making excuses. I'm saying I think that would be, in my opinion, the biggest difference from college transitioning to the NFL. Because if you can get it mentally, which he does, and several young guys that I've coached in the past have gotten it from that standpoint, assignment-wise, it then becomes that older guy that's savvy, that's been in the league for 3 or 4 years or longer, that understands, who studies you the same way you study him, and he can find little things that you may not do well and try to take advantage of it. Just like as running backs, you're studying that defender and his style of play as well, and you're trying to figure out if he has any tips or tells that can help you. And then it comes to then it comes down to a physical matchup. And, sometimes you're young, just like he has a speed matchup against a lot of guys that we may play against throughout the course of the season. So they got to figure out ways to keep him from taking advantage of that. And so he has to find ways to take advantage of a guy that may be a little savvier, a little more experienced, or maybe potentially a little stronger. So, sorry, that's a long answer to that question. But
and then kind of to build on that, we've seen Ramondre obviously seems to have a ton of trust as a blocker. What allows him to be so proficient in that role? Because we've seen for years just the consistency from him has really been there.
I think it's just now you flip him in terms of now he's a savvy vet. He's been doing it for 5 or 6 years. I'm sure he had his issues as a rookie. And just over time, being able, for us, we're able to look at film of James and Burkhead and these guys that have been here that did it at a high level for a really long time. And then Ramondre got to play with some of those guys. And so he's been here. He's played against a lot of these guys now repeatedly or similar to the guys we're playing against. And he obviously understands it from the mental assignment part of it. And now he's gotten to a point where he's seen just about every front and blitz through the course of his 5 seasons and the different people we've played against. And obviously playing here, this was one of the best defenses in the league for most of his career playing here, and he's playing against these guys every day, practice against these guys in the spring and the fall camp. You know, you learn pretty quickly. You get introduced pretty quickly to the NFL and the defenders that we've had here defensively over the years that he's been here. So.
I'm assuming they already asked you about the pass pro stuff.
Thank
so
you.
I won't,
Yeah,
I won't
yeah.
double up.
Nice to meet you. Thank you,
Pleasure.
Karen.
I'm
Yeah.
at
All 3 different systems and all different environments. So try to always keep it separated, but I think from a standpoint of whether it's successful or not successful, it's an opportunity to learn and grow from everything that's going to process throughout the years.
Cool. Thomas, thanks a lot.
No problem.
Appreciate
Good to see you.
Talk to you.
What's going on?
Thomas.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great.
Good.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the boots that you guys were running last weekend, and just with your background with the Rams and stuff, I figure you're probably pretty familiar with that play. So
Yeah, a little bit.
What's like sort of the big high level coaching points to run plays like that?
Yeah, I think it's all about the marriage of the run and the pass. I think the more you can formate things from a formation standpoint, shifts and motions to marry with the run game, the more overall effective it is. And I think also when it comes to the keepers you'll actually activate week in and week out, it kind of depends on what the defense presents as far as their coverage tendencies, how they react to the run action, how the edge players play. Are they playing 9 techniques, 6 techniques? So every week's kind of a new opportunity to be able to kind of draw some new stuff up and see if it can be effective. But we definitely kind of all been involved in that process of developers from a keeper standpoint.
The players have familiarity with the system, or is it a lot of teaching still?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of teaching. I think when it comes to whether you're talking about scheme in general or just overall fundamentals, the process of teaching, which is one thing I love about the game, is never ending. I think we have a really good grasp on what we're going to teach conceptually, but I think when it comes to the next opponent, how the opponent plays, whether they're a 3-down odd front structure team where they're playing under with a shade or over with a G on the backside, it's all kind of opportunity to kind of teach and develop our guys to master the game plan and be at their best.
I mean, I saw a lot of the zone concepts during training camp or whatever, but I'm guessing since it's still new to a lot of players, you still have to kind of during the week, refresh it. Yeah. If you're going to use it.
Yeah, I think repetition is the mother of learning. So the more you hear it, the more you see it, the more you do it, the better you become at it. So whether they had a ton of experience with one thing or not, we'll still do a really good job week in and week out trying to put them in the best spot to be successful.
And you're still going to be a game plan offense.
Always going to be some game plans every week. So that's part of the fun part of the game.
Great.
That's what we're all trying to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
You guys going to keep doing that? Or
Well, you got to come watch the game.
Keeping us guessing.
That's the overall goal.
Keep the Steelers guessing.
What do you think of Drake? I know you guys have moved on from Miami, but just where do you think you saw how he's grown? In that game.
I think he did a really good job of just taking, everything we've been talking about from the offseason and training camp and the corrections from week 1 and applying them in week 2. But I think it's an effort of all 11 guys, without the offensive line and their protection, without the receivers getting open on time like they're supposed to. I don't think that happened, so I think it was a good team effort, and but I was excited about how Drake performed.
One thing that I was asking Josh a little bit about today, and he's done so much over the course of his career in terms of scheme, there's just a lot of volume there. But we don't think of him here in New England with Tom and even with Mac for a year.
Yeah.
It was not a big bootleg, zone running offense. You've been in that sort of scheme, right? Mm-hmm. And a bunch of other guys, Thomas, and there's a lot of West Coast people here.
Right.
How much do you guys feel like you had some influence in a game like that one where there was a lot of that stuff and it seemed to work really well for what you guys were doing?
I think Josh has done a really good job since we all got hired and just being collaborative and being open to new ideas. And I think any good offense is going to, tailor itself to the strengths of the quarterback and the skill players in the offensive line. So I think it's just something that, a lot of us have had experience with. It's something that we, thought that Drake could do pretty well. And again, credit to Josh because he was in the system for 20 years and he was open to adding some new wrinkles. So I thought, it married well together.
Do you know Tyler, by the way?
No, I don't think so.
Tyler, Ashton.
How's it going,
Tyler,
Ashton? Nice to
Tyler.
meet you.
I'm going to go and try to catch some of these other guys.
Oh,
Good to see you, though, man. Have a good rest of the week.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Great to meet you.
Oh, thanks. Nice meeting you as well.
Well, so your first impressions when you get the job, what's the first thing you did to learn about your new quarterback?
So it's funny enough. I grew up in Connecticut, so this is almost like home for me. So I've always been in tune with what the Patriots were doing. A couple guys that I worked with in Cleveland were here last year, so I kind of got second wind hearings about Drake. But when he got here, it was just important for me to get him on the phone, get to know him, and then shortly after I got hired, he came in to visit, and we sat down and talked a little bit, got to know each other, our family situations, things of that nature. I think the most important thing is just getting to know each other as a person, and then the working relationship builds from that.
What stood out?
I think his maturity. Every time someone asks me that question, I say the same thing. Is just his maturity for a guy as young as he is, being only 23 years old. You almost forget that based on your everyday conversations with him, how well he can maneuver different environments. He's a guy who can talk to everybody in the locker room, sit at every lunch table, hold a conversation with my 2-year-old daughter and my 75-year-old grandmother. So I think that just goes to show how well-rounded he is as a person.
Sounds like he has that presence in a locker room.
Yeah.
So how important is that just to be able to relate to anybody from any background?
Yeah.
You've got a room full of guys.
I think that's the beautiful thing about, our sport. Our sport is a bunch of guys that come from different backgrounds and all, put their personal beliefs aside to achieve one goal. And I think when the quarterback embodies that, I think that's an important thing when the leader of your franchise is the walking embodiment of that.
This is a pretty complex offense, you'd say?
Give or take.
Yeah.
They're all, it's the National Football League. I think they're all pretty complex.
Yeah.
I think, what you ask players to do might be different in one system as opposed to the next. But, every offense has its, challenges.
What makes this one challenging, and how did Drake kind of take that on in the offseason?
I don't think I would call this offense super challenging. What I would say is it gives Drake more responsibility, and I think he, jumped at the opportunity to handle that much responsibility. I think he's done a great job going about it. I think he studies his butt off in order to prepare and play well on game days. So I think he just attacked it with an open mind, was happy and excited for the opportunity, and he's done a good job with it.
Yeah, how receptive is he to just kind of hard coaching, right? 22,
Yeah.
20, not all 22, 23-year-olds
Yeah.
at any position, let alone quarterback, can maybe take some harder coaching.
Yeah.
Right? And Josh has been around a long time, so I imagine he wants things done
Yeah.
a specific way in this offense.
Well, I think he's really open to it. And if you think about it, the greatest players of all time are open to hard coaching. Think about Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. I'm not saying that Drake May is Michael Jordan, but I'm saying the guys who have that fire that burns underneath them, they want to be coached. They don't want guys that just pat them on the back. They want someone who will push them to continuously get better each and every day. And Drake is someone, every day he walks in, he asks, all right, what are we focused on today? What's the challenge? How can I be better? How can I make my team better? So he's very intentional about that.
Boy, anything specifically that you do, or even Josh, anybody to challenge him, to push him, what behind the scenes?
It's just more so about how much more can we do to be prepared for the next day? So every football team, they have their hours, what time guys have to come in the building, what time the last scheduled thing is over, and that happens to be from a 9 a.m. to a 5 a.m., maybe earlier for some teams, later for other teams. And it's just about challenging Drake to put in the extra work so that when everyone else comes in, he's always a step ahead, always prepared, so that he's a guy that can end up being a coach on the field, which is what we need in our system.
So he's eating the avocado ice cream, probably, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, he's in there. He's in there with us late at night, trying to get ahead, stay ahead, doing all the things that you would want your starting quarterback to do to be.
See, not everybody needs to go to that extreme, but it is probably good to hear if your quarterback's doing stuff on his own time.
Yeah.
Right?
We make jokes all the time, but I called him the other night at 10 o'clock to see if he was studying his plays with Ann Michael, his fiance. So he's after it. He made a funny joke that she couldn't read all the abbreviations on the call sheet, so it was a little bit of a waste of time. But he's always trying to do the next go the extra mile to be prepared.
Was he studying?
No, he was sleeping. I called him a little bit too late.
I appreciate it. Thanks
Oh,
a
no
lot.
problem. Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Actually, I'm Andrew.
Nice to
We
meet
chatted
you.
a moment
Yeah.
ago, but
I
it's always
think
best to-
I think I might like bump into some of your stuff on Twitter. I think you
Oh,
guys do a
really?
good job. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's probably
Maybe it's
because
X
I'm
now.
a fellow Connecticut guy.
Okay.
And
Where are you from?
Storrs. Grew up right. Went to
Okay,
U.
UConn.
Smith. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we might actually be moving back South Windsor soon.
Okay.
Once the wife's got expecting. So,
So my congrats.
I know
Boy,
your folks are
boy or
still in
girl?
Manchester.
Yeah, they are.
Gonna be a baby girl.
Awesome. I have a girl.
Really?
I have a 2-year-old girl, and then we have another one coming here in the next 3 weeks. So,
Congratulations. Yeah, we're about
appreciate it.
7 weeks out.
Okay.
Do you know?
Crunch time.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably like one day you get if you talk to Breeze about that.
A couple hours, hopefully. Like go there, make sure the wife's okay, make sure the baby's healthy.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's on a weekday and not on a Saturday or Sunday, because it's during that stretch of the 3 away games. So
Yeah.
we'll figure
Does
something
that ever
out.
strike you as like a little sick? Like just I hope I get a couple hours as opposed to like a whole day or two.
Yeah, it does. Like our first child was born in the off season, so it was easier because you got a couple days.
Okay.
Because just a couple days. But in the season, it's definitely a crunch because, like, as a football coach, it's almost like I related to missing one algebra class in high school. Like, if you miss one day, it's like, okay, we changed this adjustment was made, and it's,
Yeah. Plus, it's life. Like I know the hours you guys work, so
Yeah.
that part doesn't have to be explained. But I don't know. I'm thinking differently, obviously, with one on the way, and I'm like, man, might take a week, but I gotta stay in tune, watch enough film. But for football, I was asking Josh earlier today.
Yeah.
Like I know he's always been a game plan guy. Week to week, we're gonna change what we do.
Yeah.
But I know Drake did a lot of the stuff when you guys were opening a lot of outside zones, some of the boots off of that. You're more under center and you got more motion.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of what I know you grew up in a little bit.
Yep.
And what he did last year. Is that getting close to what you guys are best at, do you think? Or was that just one good game and one game plan you had?
I think you have to be versatile and flexible enough to change what you do based on who your opponent is.
Mhm.
So I think some of the things that Drake did last year, some of the things that I'm well versed in, and some of the other guys on staff just happened to fit that game week and what we were doing. I think the best offenses can go week to week, change the game plan with things that are similar to the quarterback that look different to the defense, so that the quarterback can execute at a high level.
Yeah. That looked like his best start to me.
Yeah.
What, besides he's accurate, he scored touchdowns, he was scrambling. Like,
Yeah.
what did you like best about it that I might miss?
I think the way he communicated with his teammates was one of the things that stood out a lot. And the next thing is just the comfort in the pocket. I mean, that was something that we took a lot of time and harping on in the offseason, just when he hits the back of his drop moving forward, because it helps the offensive line, it helps with tackles. And I thought it was pretty neat on that 3rd and 3 pass. If you watch it, he gets to the top of his drop, and Morgan does exactly what he's taught to give a last shove to Phillips over the edge, and Drake aggressively steps up with 2 hands on the ball. Like, that's our drill work that we do every single day. So when that stuff shows up, it's pretty neat.
That's cool, man. It was funny talking to Mike Smith earlier this year because him and Josh used to go back with all these battles, and he was like, Josh would just laugh at me because once you get to 9 yards, they're just like, see it.
Yeah.
So like,
we call it set the hook.
Yeah.
And then
until
all these defensive ends, and I remember being in like some defensive meetings, they would say, just rush to 10 yards. And, a lot of quarterbacks, if you watch a spot, there's no, and I'm just talking football wise, there's no tackle, very few tackles, and they have to be rare now, that can protect a quarterback that's sitting at 10 yards deep.
Yeah.
And if you go back and watch a lot of the sacks in the NFL and strip sacks, just watch how deep the quarterback is.
Right.
And that is the trick.